They wish they never met you, but not for the reasons you think. It wasn't because you were weak or naive or too kind. It was because you were a mirror, silent, unintentional, yet brutally honest. You reflected back to them everything they were afraid to see in themselves. You showed them their insecurities without saying a word. And some people cannot handle the truth of their own reflection. So they blame the mirror instead of facing what's inside. You entered their life as a calm presence, unaware that your silence carried more weight than their entire character. You didn't try to compete. You didn't try to prove anything. Yet your existence alone felt like a challenge to their ego. The way you carried your pain, the way you held your disappointments without collapsing, the way you stayed genuine in a world addicted to pretending, it unsettled them. You didn't know it, but your authenticity was loud. And people who build their identity on lies always fear someone who lives in truth. Some of them underestimated you the moment you walked in. They thought you were simple, soft, breakable. They mistook your patience for weakness and your quietness for emptiness. They didn't know that storms too learn to whisper. They didn't know that the calmest souls are often the ones who survive the most violent battles. They didn't know that your gentleness was not the absence of strength, but the proof that you mastered it. You were never the one who needed validation. You were never chasing approval. You were never trying to be liked. And that right there is why they felt threatened. People who depend on attention cannot understand those who live without it. People who build their worth on being admired cannot understand someone whose worth comes from depth, not noise. You became a reminder that real power doesn't announce itself. It simply is. They wish they never met you because meeting you exposed every false friend, every fake intention, every shallow heart. You didn't even try to expose anyone. Your energy did it for you. Your presence revealed their motives. Your loyalty revealed their disloyalty. Your kindness revealed their manipulation. Your consistency revealed their instability. People reveal who they are in the presence of someone who is real. You became the light that made their shadows impossible to hide. And yet, you still blamed yourself. You questioned your worth. You wondered why people changed, why they switched, why they grew distant, why they acted cold after everything you did for them. You thought it was something wrong with you, but it wasn't. It was the weight of your soul. It was the gravity of your presence. It was the purity of your intentions. Some people simply cannot stand near a person who makes them feel small without even trying. You didn't lose them. They lost access to you. They lost the rare opportunity to stand beside someone who loved honestly, forgave deeply, and cared with sincerity. They lost the chance to grow from your wisdom, to learn from your strength, to be shaped by your loyalty. They lost the kind of presence that doesn't come twice in a lifetime. And it wasn't your job to convince them of your value. It was their responsibility to recognize it. You were not sent into their life to be used. You were sent to be remembered. And trust me, they remember you. They remember the way you listened without judgment. They remember the way you showed up, even when they didn't deserve it. They remember the moments you supported them while they took you for granted. They remember the conversations where you poured life into them while they offered you emptiness. They remember the version of you that was soft, sincere, patient, forgiving, and deep down they know they will never meet someone like you again. They wish they never met you because knowing you raised their standards, it made it impossible for them to return to the comfort of mediocrity. Before you, they tolerated fake connections. After you, every shallow person feels even more hollow. Before you, they accepted chaos. After you, their soul craves the calm only you carried. You changed something inside them, something they didn't want to change. And that's why they blame you. That's why they paint you as the problem. You awakened something in them they weren't ready to face. You walked into their world like a lesson disguised as a blessing. And lessons are uncomfortable. Lessons demand honesty. Lessons demand growth. Lessons demand sacrifice. You didn't come to make them feel good. You came to make them aware. Awareness can feel like pain to someone who doesn't want to grow. That's why your presence was a disturbance. That's why your truth was unwelcome. That's why your love felt heavy in their hands. They weren't built to hold something so real. But listen carefully. Their reaction was never about you. Their rejection was never about your worth. Their silence was never about your value. Their distance was never about your character. Their absence was never a reflection of your failure. It was a reflection of their inability. They were not capable of meeting you at the level you stand. They were not prepared to receive the depth you offer. They were not emotionally developed enough to handle the maturity of your heart. You were built from a different material, the kind molded through struggle, formed through lonely nights, shaped through years of endurance. The kind of soul that survives storms with grace, heals wounds with wisdom, and rises without applause. People like you are rare. People like you don't just appear, they arrive with purpose. You were the unexpected chapter in someone's life, the chapter that forced them to see reality, the chapter that shifted everything, the chapter that made them confront their demons, question their choices, and rethink their entire path. And that is why losing you hurts them more than they will ever admit. Even the ones who acted like they didn't care, even the ones who laughed when you walked away, even the ones who pretended they were unaffected. Silence has a way of revealing pain that words try to hide. They scroll through old messages, reread old memories, replay old moments in their mind, wondering how they let someone like you slip away. They see your growth from a distance now. They watch your transformation in silence. They witness your strength, your resilience, your rise, and they realize, too late, that you were the blessing they weren't mature enough to receive. They wish they never met you because meeting you taught them the truth about themselves. It showed them their immaturity, their selfishness, their emotional laziness. You became the measuring stick against which their character was exposed, and it's easier for them to blame you than to face the truth of who they were when they had you. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing, still rising, still evolving. You didn't break when they walked away. You didn't collapse when they betrayed your trust. You didn't lose yourself in the disappointment. You didn't let their absence destroy your identity. You grew, you leveled up. You became wiser, sharper, stronger, quieter. You became the version of yourself you were always meant to be. The version that doesn't need validation, doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't shrink. Their absence didn't diminish you. It revealed you. It revealed your capacity to heal. It revealed your ability to stand alone. It revealed your inner power. The one you forgot existed because you spent so long pouring into others. You are not the person they left behind. You've outgrown the version of you they once knew. And that's the real reason they wish they never met you. Because now they have to live with the knowing, the knowing that they lost someone irreplaceable. And as you continue walking forward, something inside you begins to shift. Slowly at first, like a quiet awakening in a forgotten room of your soul. You start to realize that the people who mishandled you were never meant to understand the depth you carry. They were not equipped for the kind of honesty you live with. They weren't prepared for the weight of your loyalty, the sincerity of your intentions, the strength of your silence. They met you without knowing that they were standing before someone who would one day become their greatest regret. But now you see it clearly. You were never the one who lacked anything. You were the one who offered too much to people who offered too little. You look back not with bitterness, but with clarity. You walk through the memories like a traveler, revisiting the ruins of an old city, observing, learning, but no longer belonging there. You see the version of yourself who tolerated things you should have walked away from, who tried to fix people who weren't trying for themselves, who gave love that wasn't ready to be received. And instead of feeling shame, you feel gratitude, because that version of you was the bridge that led to who you are now. The pain didn't break you. It carved you into someone more precise, more aware, more powerful. You begin to understand that some people were meant to leave so you could return to yourself. Their betrayal redirected you. Their absence freed you. Their rejection pushed you into a future where your worth is recognized, not questioned. Sometimes God removes people quietly, not because they are bad, but because their chapter in your story is complete. And the moment you finally release the weight of what they thought of you, you rise into a version of yourself they will never have access to again. There is a beautiful strength in realizing you don't need anyone to choose you for you to be complete. You don't need their approval to breathe. You don't need their attention to exist. You don't need their love to feel whole. You have become your own foundation, solid, grounded, unshakable. The world around you may shift, but your inner world stands tall, like an ancient mountain unmoved by storms. And as you rise, you no longer take it personally when people leave. You understand that not everyone can journey with you into the next chapter. You stop explaining yourself. You stop proving your intentions. You stop trying to convince people of your value. The truth is, those who failed to see your worth were blind long before you met them. And those who betrayed you had cracks in their character long before they crossed your path. You simply became the moment they exposed themselves. You were the stage where their true nature performed. And now you know nothing was your fault. Their choices were their own reflection, not yours. You begin to see that your presence was not just memorable. It was catalytic. You didn't just walk into their life, you shifted it. You inspired them to dream differently, to see differently, to question differently. You taught them lessons they didn't know they needed. You brought clarity to places where they lived in denial. You were the unexpected voice that whispered truth into their chaos. And when a person isn't ready for truth, they call it a disturbance. When they aren't ready for growth, they call it a threat. When they aren't ready for real love, they call it too much. But you kept loving anyway. You kept giving anyway. You kept believing anyway. And that is what sets you apart. You don't shut down your heart just because someone couldn't hold it. You don't dim your light because someone else felt intimidated by its power. You don't stop being real because someone preferred the comfort of illusions. You are rising, not in spite of what happened, but because of it. Every disappointment has become spiritual fuel. Every betrayal has become emotional armor. Every rejection has become a doorway to self-respect. You no longer chase anyone. You no longer beg for attention. You no longer shrink to fit into places you've outgrown. This is your evolution, the transformation they never imagined you would reach. And now, as you stand at this new horizon, you carry something they can never reclaim: freedom. You are free from their opinions, free from their expectations, free from their judgments, free from their narrative. You no longer live for their applause or their acceptance. You live for the quiet knowing inside you, that peaceful whisper that tells you you're on the right path. And this knowing is worth more than every validation they withheld. It carries more value than every apology they never gave. It holds more weight than every explanation you never received. There comes a moment where you stop longing for closure and start living in truth. The closure was never in their words, it was in your understanding. The healing was never in their return, it was in your release. The power was never in their presence, it was in your becoming. And now you stand tall with a heart made of quiet storms and unshakable faith in your own worth. You begin to walk differently, not faster, not louder, but with a quiet certainty. The kind of certainty that comes from knowing you survived the very things that were meant to break you. The kind of certainty that comes from realizing that even at your lowest, you carried a strength they never saw, a strength you only now understand. You walk like someone who has finally returned home to themselves. And as you rise, something remarkable happens. Your energy changes, your presence deepens, your voice becomes steadier, your eyes become clearer. You no longer carry the weight of proving yourself. You no longer feel responsible for fixing what others break. You no longer internalize the chaos of those around you. You have become peaceful in a way that feels unshakable, grounded in a way that feels ancient, wise in a way that feels hard-earned. People sense it in you now. They feel the difference. The same ones who once took you for granted now feel the distance you've created, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. They can no longer reach you the way they once did, because you no longer meet them at the level where they left you. You've ascended, you've evolved, you've stepped into a higher version of yourself that they cannot recognize, because they never took the time to know who you truly were. You are no longer the soul they thought was simple. You are no longer the heart they believed they could manipulate. You are no longer the quiet presence they assumed would always stay. You are no longer the safe place they once used as their escape. You have become unreachable, not because you disappeared, but because you grew. And growth has taken you to heights they cannot climb. They wish they never met you because now they carry the weight of comparison. Every new person they meet lacks the depth you gave effortlessly. Every new connection lacks the sincerity you offered without conditions. Every new conversation feels shallow compared to the way you spoke life into them. Every smile feels empty compared to the peace you brought. Every affection feels transactional compared to the purity of your love. You set a standard they cannot forget, a standard their new connections cannot reach. You live now with the understanding that some losses were actually protection. Some endings were actually beginnings wrapped in disguise. Some goodbyes were actually the universe clearing your path. And what felt like abandonment was actually redirection. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared for a life where you no longer settle. Prepared for connections that meet you with the same depth you offer. Prepared for friendships that nourish your spirit, not drain it. Prepared for love that doesn't hurt to hold. Prepared for abundance that doesn't come at the cost of your peace. Prepared for a future that reflects your worth, not your wounds. And as you breathe into this new chapter, you begin to feel something returning to you, something you thought you lost along the way. Your power, fire, your self-respect, your sense of direction, your inner voice that had been quieted by years of doubt. It comes back stronger, clearer, more grounded than ever before. You feel your soul waking up, stretching its wings, remembering who you were before the world tried to shrink you. You rise not with anger, but with wisdom. Not with noise, but with purpose. Not with vengeance, but with understanding. You don't need to wish them pain. You don't need to wish them regret. Life will teach every soul what it must. Your only responsibility now is to walk forward with intention, with clarity, with a heart no longer burdened by what others fail to see in you. And as you walk, you carry one truth that echoes through every step you take. They may wish they never met you, but you are finally grateful that you met them. because without them, you would have never discovered the strength you carry now, the peace that lives in your chest, the wisdom that guides your decisions, the boundaries that protect your spirit, the clarity that shapes your future. And now, as the horizon widens before you, you begin to understand the quiet truth that was waiting for you all along. The real transformation was never about them. It was never about proving anything, winning anything, or changing anyone's mind. The real transformation was about returning to yourself, reclaiming the parts of you that were scattered across too many people, too many promises, too many moments where you gave without receiving. You begin to gather those pieces slowly, gently, respectfully, like a soul returning home after a long and exhausting journey. The more you gather, the more whole you become. You start to feel the weight of your past fading, not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer controls you. The memories lose their sting. Old conversations lose their grip. The faces that once haunted you dissolve into distant silhouettes. You can finally breathe without feeling the echoes of those who mishandled your heart. For the first time in a long time, your chest opens, your mind quiets, your spirit stands tall. This is not the absence of pain. This is mastery. This is the moment when your soul realizes it can carry the scar without reliving the wound. You begin to live from a place of deeper understanding. You no longer ask, why did they do this to me? Instead, you ask, what did this make me become? And the answer surprises you. Stronger, softer, wiser, calmer, sharper. You became a person who knows how to love without losing yourself. A person who knows how to give without emptying their soul. A person who can walk away without bitterness. A person who understands that not everyone deserves access to the sanctuary of your heart. You evolved from someone who needed to be understood into someone who simply needs to be at peace. People look at you now and they see the strength, but they don't see the nights it took to build it. They see your silence and call it calm, but they don't know the storms you conquered alone. They see your independence and call it confidence, but they don't see the battles that forced you to depend only on your own spirit. You became your own healer, your own guide, your own mirror, your own protector. No one taught you how to rise. You learned that through every person who expected you to fall. And as you rise, your energy changes in ways you can't explain. You attract peace instead of chaos. You draw in authenticity instead of masks. You inspire the kind of people who recognize the depth in your eyes, not the noise of your past. You begin to meet souls who match your silence, who respect your boundaries, who value your time, who appreciate your presence because they understand how rare it is. You begin to build connections that feel like gentle water instead of wildfire, steady, nourishing, honest. You realize something profound. You no longer want the kind of love that drains you. You no longer want friendships that suffocate you. You no longer want environments that shrink you. You no longer want to explain your worth to those unwilling to see it. You've grown out of needing to be chosen. You choose yourself, and this time you do it unapologetically. You guard your heart not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You set boundaries not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You move differently because you finally understand the power of your presence. You carry a quiet confidence now, the kind that doesn't need to be announced, the kind that doesn't seek proof, the kind that lives in your posture, your tone, your decisions, your silence, the kind that speaks in the way you walk away from what no longer aligns with your spirit, the kind that shows in the way you no longer react to things that once shook you. You have become steady in a world that tries to weaponize uncertainty. You have become calm in a world addicted to noise. People who once overlooked you begin to notice the glow in your eyes, the peace in your breath, the strength in your steps. They don't understand how you transformed so silently. They don't understand how you healed without them. They don't understand how you rose without their support. They don't understand how you rebuilt yourself from wounds they left behind. They see your growth, but they don't see the resilience beneath it. They see the flower, but not the soil that shaped it. And deep inside, you know the truth. You became the person they never expected you to be. You outgrew the version of yourself they were comfortable with. You stepped into a destiny that doesn't include their presence. You became a chapter they can no longer enter. And the distance between you and them is not personal, it's spiritual. You rose to a level they chose not to climb. Now, you live with a different kind of strength. The strength to say no, the strength to walk away, the strength to protect your spirit, the strength to stand alone, the strength to love again without fear, the strength to rebuild even when no one is watching, the strength to trust your own instincts, the strength to release what you once begged for, the strength to understand that not everyone is meant to stay and not everyone is meant to leave quietly. Realize that your story was never meant to end in heartbreak. The heartbreak was simply a doorway, a passage, a turning point. It was the moment the universe removed what was blocking your growth. It was the moment you learned that losing someone can sometimes be the beginning of finding yourself. It was the moment that forced you to step into the life you were destined to live. With every breath now, you move forward not with sorrow, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, gratitude for the clarity, gratitude for the strength you never knew you had, gratitude for the wisdom born out of pain, gratitude for the person you have become, a person no longer shaped by the opinions of those who mishandled your heart. And though they may wish they never met you, you understand something far deeper. Meeting them was not a mistake. It was part of the divine unfolding of who you were meant to be. It was the fire that forged you, the storm that awakened you, the mirror that revealed you, the push that elevated you. You don't wish the story was different. You honor it because it led you here, to yourself, to your truth, to your power.